In the darkness before recorded time, across dimensions beyond mortal comprehension, there burns a fire unlike any other. It is not the fire of volcanic eruption or stellar ignition. It is something far older, far more terrible. It is the Hellfire of Trigon, and its origins are steeped in legends that predate the formation of Earth itself. The ancient texts of Azareth, a dimension of pacifist monks who dedicated millennia to spiritual enlightenment, contain the earliest surviving accounts of Trigon's emergence. These writings, penned on parchment made from interdimensional flora that no longer exists, describe a cosmos in its infancy. The universe is young, and the barriers between dimensions remain thin and permeable. In this primordial era, negative emotions cast off by countless sentient beings across reality begin to coalesce. Hatred, rage, despair, and cruelty pool together in a dimensional pocket, fermenting like poison in a wound. According to the Azarathian chronicles, this concentration of malevolence achieves sentience. It does not evolve gradually as life typically does. Instead, it awakens fully formed, burning with purpose. The entity that rises from this cesspool of darkness names itself Trigon. His very existence generates heat of a metaphysical nature, flames that burn not flesh, but souls themselves. The monks of Azarath record that Trigon's hellfire first manifests when he conquers his birth dimension. The flames erupt from his eyes, his hands, and eventually from every pore of his massive crimson form. But these are not ordinary flames. They carry the accumulated suffering of billions of souls, weaponized into pure destructive force. The fire feeds on fear, grows stronger with each act of domination. Within what mortals would measure as mere centuries, Trigon has consumed his home dimension entirely, leaving nothing but ash and tortured spirits. The legends diverge at this point, with different interdimensional cultures offering their own accounts. The Tribunal of Azar, the ruling council of Azarath, preserves records from refugees who fled dimensions conquered by Trigon. These testimonies paint a consistent picture of the Hellfire's properties. Survivors describe flames that burn in colors unknown to the visible spectrum, fires that freeze as readily as they scorch, infernos that leave the body intact while incinerating the mind. One particularly detailed account comes from the lost dimension of Cothries. Their scholars, before their realm fell to Trigon's conquest, develop a systematic study of his powers. They theorize that Trigon's hellfire draws from what they call the negative emotional spectrum. Just as light can be broken into component colors, they argue emotional energy exists on a spectrum. Trigon has mastered the darkest bands of this spectrum: hatred, terror, anguish, and despair. His flames burn these emotions directly, converting psychological torment into physical destruction. Catharian texts also document an unsettling discovery. Trigon's hellfire grows more potent when fueled by betrayal. When he conquers worlds through treachery, when he corrupts loyal servants into traitors, his flames burn with intensified fury. This revelation explains his preference for manipulation over direct assault. Cultivates betrayal like a farmer cultivates crops, harvesting the emotional energy to feed his infernal powers. Ancient demonic hierarchies across multiple dimensions develop their own mythologies surrounding Trigon. Lesser demons speak of him in reverent whispers, calling him the Father of Flames, the first burning one. They claim his hellfire is the template from which all other demonic flames derive. Every fire pit in every hell dimension, according to these legends, contains a fragment of Trigon's original burning essence. The mystical traditions of Earth encounter references to Trigon relatively late in their development. Sumerian tablets, incorrectly translated for centuries, contain what scholars now believe are warnings about an entity matching Trigon's description. The texts speak of a four-eyed demon whose breath is made of burning souls. Babylonian priests develop rituals specifically designed to prevent dimensional incursions, rituals that later magical traditions will recognize as primitive wards against Trigon's influence. Medieval grimoires expand on these earlier references. European sorcerers, drawing on fragmentary knowledge passed down through occult lineages, describe Trigon as a conqueror of 100 worlds. They document attempts to summon his hellfire for use in mortal conflicts, attempts that invariably end in catastrophe. The flames cannot be controlled by mortal will. They burn the summoner as readily as the intended target, claiming souls rather than simply ending lives. The Church of Blood, a cult that emerges in the medieval period and persists into modernity. Develops the most extensive earth-based theology surrounding Trigon. Their sacred texts, written in blood on human skin, describe the Hellfire as a purifying force. They believe that Trigon's flames will cleanse the world of weakness, burning away compassion and mercy to leave only strength.
Wow.
Their interpretation inverts traditional understanding, viewing the Hellfire not as a weapon of destruction, but as a tool of transformation. Scholars of the mystical arts note that Trigon's Hellfire operates according to rules that contradict conventional physics. The flames can burn through magical barriers that would stop nuclear explosions. They can traverse dimensional boundaries without losing intensity. Most disturbingly, they can burn concepts themselves. Trigon has reportedly incinerated abstract ideas, burning hope from entire civilizations and leaving populations incapable of imagining a better future. The dimensional refugees who found Azarath bring with them the most complete understanding of how to defend against Trigon's Hellfire. Their accumulated knowledge forms the basis of Azarathian mystical practice. They discover that emotions of equal but opposite intensity can create shields against the flames. Pure, selfless love generates a barrier that Trigon's hatred-fueled fire cannot penetrate. Genuine hope deflects flames born of despair. This knowledge will prove crucial in future conflicts with the Demon Lord. Perhaps the most terrifying aspect of Trigon's Hellfire, preserved in legends across countless dimensions, concerns its ultimate purpose. The flames are not simply weapons of conquest. They are instruments of transformation. Every world Trigon conquers, every soul his fire consumes, adds to his power. He does not merely destroy, he absorbs. Each dimension that falls to his Hellfire becomes part of him, its energy feeding his ever-growing might. The ancient legends agree on one final, chilling detail. Trigon's Hellfire has never been truly extinguished. It can be contained, deflected, or temporarily suppressed. But the flames themselves are eternal, burning somewhere across the dimensional planes at every moment. They wait with infinite patience for new worlds to consume, new souls to claim. The fire that burned before time continues to burn, and according to the darkest prophecies, it will burn long after the last star dies.